Summary of Maus by Art Spiegelman. After being apart for a long time, Artie Spiegelman, a young Jewish-American artist, goes to see his father, Vladek, at his home. Vladek is sick and unhappy. He is married to a woman named Mala who is mean to him, and he is still sad about the suicide of his first wife, Anya, 10 years ago. Artie and Vladek have a tense relationship, but Artie is eager to write a comic book about his father's life. Vladek is a Jew from Poland who moved to New York after World War II. He lived through the Holocaust. He and Anya and most of their family lived in ghettos and prison camps in Poland while it was ruled by the Nazis. Vladek has talked to Artie about his stories over the course of more than 2 years. He starts in Poland before World War II, where he meets and marries Anya, the smart and beautiful daughter of a rich producer. In the city of Sosnowiec, where both of their families live, the two are happy to be with each other. When war breaks out in 1939, as a Polish soldier, Vladek is sent to the front lines. Vladek becomes a prisoner of war when he is taken by the Germans. He spends months in a forced work camp before fleeing and making his way back to Sosnowiec. Vladek gets back together with his family, which now includes a young son named Richu. When he does, he finds that the German invasion has had a huge effect on the lives of Poland's Jews. In the months after he goes back to Sosnowiec, there is a lot of violence against Jews. German Nazis and Christian Poles are both eager to put Jews in the background and treat them like animals. Soon, Jews will have to leave their homes and move into ghettos, which are separate neighborhoods where soldiers and police constantly watch them and sometimes hurt them. As the Nazis force more Jews into ghettos, they start sending people to concentration camps, especially Auschwitz. At this point, people are just starting to learn about the terrible things that happened in these camps, like starvation, forced work, and, most shocking of all, the mass murder of Jewish prisoners from all over Europe in gas chambers that were made to be as efficient as possible. Richu's parents send him to live with his aunt Tosha in a different area, where they think he will be safer. This choice ends up being a bad one. When Tosha finds out that the Nazis are going to liquidate her neighborhood and send everyone there to Auschwitz, she poisons herself, Richu, her daughter, and her niece, who are also in her care, to keep them from going to the terrible gas chambers. In the end, the Nazis decide to liquidate the ghetto where Vladek and Anya live, which is Srajala. Even though Vladek has lost his parents and most of his brothers by this time, Anya still has her parents and her nephew, Lolek. The family is able to stay hidden for a short time, but they are soon found by a stranger who gives them to the Nazis. Within a few weeks, the family had split up into many different groups. Mr. and Mrs. Zilberberg are sent to Auschwitz to die, and soon after, Lolek gives himself up to be taken there, thinking that his skills as an electrician will make him useful and keep the Nazis from killing him. Vladek and Anya avoid being caught by hiding in caves and the homes of kind Polish Christians. However, when Vladek makes plans to leave the country with the help of Polish spies, they are caught and given to the Nazis. Vladek and Anya are sent to Auschwitz after being hidden for years. Vladek and Anya are split at Auschwitz, and Anya is sent to Birkenau, which is close by. Vladek uses his charm and resourcefulness to get work as an English teacher for one of the guards, then as a tinsmith, and finally as a shoemaker. In these jobs, he is treated better than most prisoners and doesn't have to do some of the hard work that other inmates have to do. He tries to keep Anya safe from afar, even though she is small and weak and is having a hard time staying alive in Birkenau. They stay in the camps for 10 months before the Germans, afraid of an attack from the Soviet Union and eager to get out of Poland, move the prisoners from Auschwitz-Birkenau to other camps inside Germany. Vladek is sent to Dachau, while Anya goes to other places, like Grossrosen and Ravensbrück. Vladek thinks Anya is dead after they are split up. He is shocked and thrilled when, after the war is over and the remaining Jewish inmates are freed, they are all brought back together in Sosnowiec. Nearly everyone they know has been killed during the war, so this is a big deal. They have a hard and sad future ahead of them, but Vladek's story ends on a happy note as they hug for the first time after being apart for months. As Artie talks about his father's memories of the war, he also tells a story about his own experiences gathering those memories, his interviews with Vladek, which often bring up feelings of resentment and disappointment that have shaped their relationship, and his experiences helping his father, whose health gets worse as they listen to more of his stories, deal with the problems of old age. As the book comes to an end, it's clear that Vladek's time is almost up. Because his heart and lungs are weak, he is weak and needs help. The confusing love he has for his son comes to a head when Mala leaves him and Artie and his wife Françoise have to take care of him during their summer vacation in the Catskill Mountains. Even though their relationship never comes to a neat end, the hours of talks and visits help the two guys understand each other better and feel more compassion. Even though he is still unhappy and unsure about his relationship with his parents, Artie gives them Maus as a sign of love and forgiveness, which is painful and flawed but true and from the heart.
About the author. Spiegelman was born in the Swedish city of Stockholm. His parents, Vladislav and Anzia Spiegelman, were Polish Jews who had been sent to Sweden as refugees after the end of World War II. In Maus, he wrote their names as Vladek and Anya to make it easier for readers to know how to say their names correctly. In 1951, the Spiegelmans came to live in the United States. They moved to New York City's Rego Park neighborhood in the borough of Queens. Spiegelman went to Harpa College, which is now known as the State University of New York at Binghamton. He studied art and philosophy there, but he did not finish because he had a mental health problem that forced him to leave school. Spiegelman went from New York to San Francisco in 1971 and started to make a name for himself as a comic book artist. He had worked in a few underground magazines and was the editor of Arcade, a collection of small press comics. He got married to Françoise Mali in 1977. In 1980, they started a magazine called Raw. By this time, Spiegelman had started to talk to his father, Vladislav, about what he did in Poland and Germany during the war, and draw pictures based on what they talked about. In December 1980, in the second issue of Raw, he put out the first of the comics that would become Maus. He kept putting parts of Maus in each issue of the magazine for the next few years, until it stopped coming out in 1991. The comics were turned into a book in 1986, and the story of Vladek and Anya continued through Auschwitz and Dachau in a second book that came out in 1992. Both books were well received by critics and sold well. Spiegelman worked for the New Yorker magazine for 10 years as a staff artist. Mali worked and still works there as an art director. During his time there, from 1992 to 2001, he drew the famous picture that was on the cover of the magazine right after the September 11th attacks on New York's World Trade Center. In 2004, Spiegelman wrote a book called In the Shadow of No Towers about what he thought about the attacks. He lives in New York.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.